Hello, thought it was time for another video on why parenting doesn't work for me. I give you Ed Halliwell's comprehensive guide to parenting of a baby and toddler. Though thankfully my own daughter has now got past both those stages, since babies are pretty useless and toddlers are horrible, and I do not intend to suffer ever having any more children. Step 1. From the very beginning. Hold your baby like this. Here is your baby. Or is it yours? That's the first thing you should do. Find out if this is your baby. If not, ask yourself very carefully what on earth you are doing in the maternity ward. Then check if it's breathing. Then check that it does not have ginger hair. Check that it's the gender you were hoping for. Pretty straightforward. There should be a doctor or midwife on hand to advise. By the way, on the gender question, if you're one of those people who thinks that sexism just comes from men, then, as the loving father of a daughter, let me tell you, stand by for mother-in-law and see how she treats your baby differently depending if baby is a girl or a boy. First, she, mother-in-law, will complain even before baby is born if you don't tell her what gender baby is due to be, because she doesn't know what clothes or toys to buy. This is all resolved when you release the wonderful news, it's going to be a boy! And wait 2 months before saying, only joking. Did you keep the receipts for all the plastic cars and tractors and Superman pyjamas you went and bought? Oh yes, she did. And now mother-in-law diligently goes and buys exclusively pink, frozen, but strong pink Disney frozen princess clothes and pyjamas and toys, which empower girls by giving them weirdly enlarged eyes, stupid amounts of makeup, and dresses which could never keep the cold out even in the south of England, never mind Arundel. So, in that order, more or less, quite quickly decide whether this is your baby and decide whether you are indeed stuck with it and do in fact have to take care of it. If not, then flee the hospital. If you are one of the designated parents of this baby, then start pretending to love it ASAP. However tired and destroyed with stress you may feel yourself, this baby is now your most important unpaid full-time job. This is your baby, so get on board with loving and holding and taking care of baby. Shh. Next thing to get used to is the fact that baby cries a lot, even if you don't drop baby. But that's not a bad thing. I mean, dropping baby is a really bad thing. I mean, baby crying isn't a bad thing. It actually means that baby is breathing, and baby needs you, and baby in its own primitive way is signalling that it cares about you, and you are probably its parent. And baby has no choice, and neither do you. So you're on the same page even before you've even got baby home. Which brings us on to the next stage. Take baby home. The main thing baby does all the time, if it's a working baby, is sleep. So put baby in a bed that resembles a cage, in a room as far away from yours as you possibly can, and put your feet up and wait until the next day. I'm only joking. Say goodbye to a good night's sleep, because several times a night you should also be checking that baby is still there, in the bed that resembles a cage. Baby will still be there. You can be absolutely sure of it. Even if you're burgled, baby is the one household item that definitely won't go missing. Keep doing all of the same, repeat, 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 like a boring recipe or science experiment where you know that even if it turns out how it was supposed to, it won't be that satisfying or eventful. 12 months later, to the day, pretend it's baby's birthday and get balloons and get the extended family to buy even more expensive gender-specific toys and clothing. One day, baby will weirdly stand up, which means she's pretending not to be a baby anymore. But she won't be very good at pretending at first, and she won't be very good at standing up at first. Yes, you still have to stick around and do everything for her, but that job's just got 1,000,000 times harder because Toddler will now, despite having no other intellectual or comic or useful capacities yet, take great pleasure in endlessly gravitating towards dangerous things in your house, faster and faster by the day, with a grin on her face. And that's nothing, because when Toddler turns 2.5 to the day, the devil will possess Toddler, and Toddler will turn inexplicably horrible. Probably because it has finally worked out that you are horrible. Toddler has even more power than a horrible teenager, and he's in fact much worse than a teenager, because at least teenagers tend to fuck off out of the house most of the time. If you wait long enough, eventually Toddler will turn into child. Nice young child. But there's no guarantee when. The main rule is most children leave it as late as possible before they turn 10, since otherwise things might get boring for the parents before child hits teens. This phase, however short, will be really sweet. Your child will talk to you, not making much sense, but you will be able to interact with child over incredibly basic things, like why a bus has wheels and how a cat is not the same thing as a dog. You can have a mutually loving relationship with child. Child will be more intelligent than toddler and way more loving than future teenager. Child will understand stuff you say to it. Child will often be nice to you, and child will seem so innocent and lovely much of the time, though you won't be able to imagine child soon growing up into a horrible teenager and then abandoning you. And for this reason, if you're quick, and if by now the early childhood of child has not completely unravelled the relationship you had with its fellow parent, you may even decide that it's time to have another baby, because you're really stupid and you don't care about the planet and you have the memory of a goldfish. So if, as I am now, you are in the sweet, short-lived phase of lovely child, be nice to child and tell it you love it, and make sure to believe in it and tell it that too. Tell it every day, whether you mean it or not. Make a YouTube video in which you emotionally declare that child is every bit worth having. And if you don't like all the other bits that led up to this bit, but you still want to be allowed to do the easy bits and just have a lovely child without all the trauma of baby and toddler, then I suppose there's always the option of adopt.